We've got the state-of-the-art data intelligence in our election intelligence dashboard, which we only better election on election. But to turn to the election intelligence dashboard of what the data assimilation of 2020 was, mind you, yes, you take that with a caveat because the political landscape of a complex political state like Bihar was very, very different, but just to reflect on it. Maria, because you were breaking down in terms of the first phase and the second phase of election. 6th is when the first phase of election actually kicks in, 6th of November. 11th is going to be the second phase, counting on the 14th of November. Let's try and interpret it region by region, how, the state of Bihar is actually going to vote. And what we've seen, Maria, is that the heartland of Bihar is seemingly going into vote in the first phase, and the border areas and the peripheral areas of Bihar are going into vote in the 6th phase. If you actually look at it, Mithila, this is what it looked like. Mithila is, a part of Mithila will now vote in the first phase. So each of the regions that we actually speak of, viewers, the 6 regions of Bihar, starting from Anga, Bhojpur, Magad, Tirhut, Simanchal, all of these regions, 6 regions will be split even way. Half the region will vote in the first phase of Bihar, and the other half mostly will vote in the second phase of Bihar. But let's break it down also now in terms of what the political chessboard actually looked like, where it came down to 2020, to just give you an idea, and we can then go back to our panelists there. So this is what it looked like, the 243 seats overall tally, NDA 122, the Mahagathbandhan at 114. Of course, a lot has changed ever since. Like I pointed out earlier, a fair amount of water has flown down the Kosi. The Kosi already in spate, where lots of regions of northern Bihar, especially right now, completely inundated. That in itself will be a problem where elections are concerned in terms of hopefully things will settle, something that the Chief Election Commission actually also touched on. But if you look at the entire map of Bihar, Maria, if you'd want to also come in and weigh in on it, the center heartland in the first phase, like you pointed out, 121 seats in the first phase, 122 seats, which are mostly some of them in the border regions and the peripheral regions going to vote in the second phase of Bihar, while counting will, of course, take place on the 14th of this month, of November.
Okay, so the capital city of Patna votes in the first phase. Again, Jahanabad, which is part of the Magad belt, Aurangabad, Gaya, all these districts are polling in the second phase. And this is also part of the central Bihar. Kaimur, Rohtas, again, crucial districts, part of the western Bihar, are again in the second phase coming in. But when we look at these districts, which are seen as the Simanchal belt, Samastipur, Purvi Champaran, Paschim Champaran, Amitabh Tiwari, they are polling in the second phase. So overall, if you look at it in terms of the distribution which has happened, it's predictable, many would say, almost similar to what happened last time around. But when we look at the EBC distribution from the first to the second phase, how does it shift? Because that becomes a crucial constituency. We are looking at almost like 33% of extreme backward classes, which constitute roughly around 130, caste groups, which and the subcastes, which are in all driven by their occupation. So the barbers, the oil pressers, which are teli, the noniyas and the noniya chokidars, which are largely the salt makers, the nishad, which is the fishermen and the boatmen communities. So the EBCs of Bihar, how are we looking at this constituency? Because for wooing this constituency, it is the role of Nitish Kumar becomes important, because for the OBCs, you have Prime Minister Modi's face.
EBCs
you have to unmute yourself. Yes.
EBCs have largely backed the NDA because of the presence of Nitish Kumar. Nitish Kumar hiked the reservation from 20% to 30%, or rather from 0% to 20% for the EBCs in panchayats and local body elections. However, the population is very scattered in the sense it does not have a bargaining power. The Mahagathbandhan is trying to woo the EBC community, but there are 113 EBC communities, out of which only 5 are 2% plus.
Yeah.
MGB gave only 9% ticket to OBCs 2020, whereas the NDA gave only 17%, correct? Despite the population, even if we consider the Hindu population is 26%. Because the communities are small, it is very, very difficult to give a ticket to a person with 1% population and then expect that they would turn around, because economically also, resourceful also, they are weaker compared to other blocks. So this is a key vote block, and the fight is for the EBC vote. As you mentioned, EBCs are also small time businessmen, very small time businessmen in a sense,
Yes.
or self-employed people, the Vishwakarma Samaj. And law and order for them becomes a crucial issue. That is number one. However, in the educated EBCs, the constitution khatre mein hai and the vote chori thing is also resonating quite a bit.
Okay,
If
since you make an important point here, because for RJD plus the entire Mahagathbandhan, if I were to say, they have to cross that winning margin, that halfway mark. It has to be around 40%, because in the last election, it was 37% distributed among the both the groups, the NDA and the MGB. When you have to have that additional 5 to 6%, do you think it has to come from the Congress? And is the traction of the SIR and constitution khatre mein hai strong enough for the EBCs to become a constituency, consolidate them to move in one direction?
No, essentially, if you see, EBCs also have a trust deficit with the Yadav community.
Yadav
The
community, that's
EBCs
right.
and the EBCs joined together to dislodge the upper caste government of the Congress in the 1990s. However, the power positions were occupied by the Yadav community. So in 2005, the EBC sort of rebelled and put Nitish Kumar as the chief minister, and they have been largely with them. So there is a trust deficit also within the
Right.
MGB, rather the RJD and the EBC communities, which Congress now is trying to fulfill. How far or how successful it will be, we'll have to wait and see, because the announcements, etc., have come, I would say,
Right.
quite